standardized, organized, and timely credential verification across states would be great, even globally, since, Mr. Lasamosa even said that it happens to them as well. And I'm sure it happens to other countries as well. And of course, full licensure that is automatically recognized across our compact states here in the United States. And of course, we all want policies to protect the IENs for unethical recruitment practices as well. Once we have these recommendations in place, we can leverage the urgency of hiring IENs in the United States and ease the prolonged delays due to the fragmented state licensure requirements and the redundant credentialing steps. These policies ease integration and improves the current worsening nursing shortage. And it also makes it a lot easier for Filipinos to actually work right away. It's not causing them a lot of anxiety. So hopefully these actions in the near future will accelerate workforce integration, reduce administrative burden, and improve patient access to care during critical shortages.
Thank you so much, Ms. Laarni. So
Thank you.
she's aiming for standardized bridging processes, protection for IENs, and collaboration with the federal agencies. Okay, next up, we have Miss Lucy. Miss Lucy, wala pa ata siya. May we have instead Miss Chris?
Sorry, nakabit ako. Okay, can you hear me, guys? Yeah, I think nasabi na po lahat ni Miss Laarni at saka ni Mr. Rodolfo Lastimosa yung pinaka obvious challenges and barriers para sa mga IENs na gustong magtrabaho sa North America. And for INA, to be honest with you, from my experience, um, with my own experience also being exposed to a lot of IEN nursing students, because that was my background. Ang pinakaano ko dito, ang naobserbahan ko po is actually the system itself, which is very similar to what Ms. Laarne explained, right? Kumbaga yun na po yung pinaka-root case. All these barriers and challenges they've been identified decades ago, pero hanggang ngayon still problematic pa rin po ang sitwasyon para sa mga IENs. Still very stressful and very exhausting para sa mga IENs. So for me, I think the main single thing that I can think of is actually the root cause, which is the system itself and who controls the system. That's the question for me. And I'm so glad I heard good news from our Philippine Congen from Calgary that there's some actions that actually involve the governments, because kahit anong push po natin tayong mga IENs or even mga colleges, kahit anong push po natin, but basically ang key actors dito ay ang gobyerno mismo, right? So for INA, we're not positioning ourselves in pushing how do you call it, pushing policies, but we are empowering our nursing professionals. And this is an example, this event is an example of our concrete step in doing that, in connecting our IEN, particularly our nursing leaders from different parts of the world, that who are very passionate and how do you call it, dedicated to help our fellow IENs to improve the system itself.
Thank you for that. Okay, so since nasagot na daw yung majority ng barriers, dumako tayo sa second question. How do we leverage global experience into leadership? And ang collective title natin today is Global Nursing Leaders. So can you identify one specific skill or piece of knowledge, but a cultural competence that you gained working as an IEN abroad? And or a trait that may have initially been misunderstood that is now essential to your success as a leader in your current role.
Okay,
So,
can I start? Lucy
yes,
Reyes from Alberta.
Yes, please.
My suggestion would be to demonstrate cultural humility, which is an ongoing process of lifelong self reflection and self critic, combined with a commitment to learning from others with respect and openness. And I have created an acronym on how you can actually practice cultural humility by the acronym CREATE. Create meaning you celebrate small successes that you see on a day to day practice while you're doing your nursing care. Two is to reflect on new ideas while remembering the old ones that you have learned in the past. E is to engage all levels of people around you. Get known and demonstrate that you're just as capable as the mainstream workers. A, when you're in the work setting, you accept the risk and learn from others. The mistakes that you do, you learn from them, research them, and master them. T is to trial new ideas. There are those that work and there are those that don't. Capitalize on the ones that work. E is to evaluate and continue to evaluate your own strategic goals to actually create success, not only for you, but for the organizations that you work with. And, and then the last one is to adapt practices that spark positive emotions as well as hope and compassion. In the last 2 years, there were 300 IENs from the Philippines that arrived in Alberta. And I was able to interact with some of them. But most of the experiences that they have is more of language. Some of the barriers that they have in Alberta, the process is a three-step process, which is confirm competency, demonstrate eligibility, and prepare for practice. One of the challenges is when they take the NCLEX, there are some of those who fail it. And the Alberta regulatory bodies, for those that fail the NCLEX, then they have to submit them to the bridging program. But if they pass the NCLEX, they don't need to take the bridging program. And the rationale is if the nursing education is taken in English, you don't need the English test in Alberta. Where you are advised to take the English test is if you fail the NCLEX. Um, the other challenge is substantial equivalent because most of the nurses that I have encountered coming from the Philippines, they graduate, they take the NCLEX, but the problem is they don't practice in the Philippines. So of course, they don't have equivalent substantial experience. And I was in discussion with the regulatory bodies because they said we need an equivalent Canadian experience and they're asking them for Canadian experience. So I challenged them, how could how could they have Canadian experience if you don't hire them? It's a little bit of a misnomer. Um, Other challenges of our newcomers in here is really they don't try to learn in the new environment. They're more focused on what they earn. They need to continue to take those continuing education so they are at par with the Canadian graduates. Our nursing programs are very good. It's just that once in Canada, you not only focus to gain financial freedom, but also focus on how you can advance your career. Thank you very much, and I can take questions.
So much. So there's the chicken and egg problem of not having Canadian experience and come on, hire me first so I would have Canadian experience.
Correct.
And it just goes on and on and on. And then I think they understand the problem. It's just that it's a matter of exerting our right to get to work. And after all these accreditation blah blahs, and once you get here to Canada, it's still hard to get employed when you're trying to compete with Canadian educated nurses. So that's really an ongoing problem. Okay, may we ask now the experience of Miss Eleanor in their province.
Hello, everyone. I would like to, there's a lot of technical glitches, but I managed to come back in. But I would like to actually address that because as far as a substantial equivalent competency, I am the last one to take it in year 2016. And I am also the last one to fail it, I must admit. So one of the barriers for that coming over to Canada is that expectation that you are a trained and well-experienced nurse from the UK, critical care trained for like almost how many years. Coming to Canada, you develop that kind of like overly confident type of personality that why do I have to go through all these hoops when I have been working in critical care settings for that matter and myself for the longest time. And during that time, when I sat the SEC, I don't have any idea. There isn't any like this, like INA or anything online that I can go to in terms of that. Communication skills is another thing, but having been working in an English-speaking country for the longest time, I think that was actually one of the thing that I actually managed to survive it partly. But then coming to Canada, for that matter, I don't know also how to talk in a way wherein it's more cultural sensitive. You know, it has trauma informed care in the context of it. Not until I actually went to the bridging process, and I never regretted coming into the bridging process and having my educational supplementation here in Canada. But like I said, I can always relate to all the internationally educated nurses coming over from UK or wherever around the world with that kind of mentality. I am one of them once upon a time, and I know now why it is very essential, because the gap of practice of nurses out there that I've seen in the clinical area when I was working as part of the regional clinical educator for Vancouver Coastal Health, working with my colleague here, Rachel Sunga, is very enormous and very, it's unbelievable. They find it very difficult to transition. And I guess my story will be an inspiration for everyone.
Thank you for that. Well, it's really a challenge being yourself, balancing being yourself and, being technical and trying to adapt to the local practices or the international standard when you think that, oh, what I was doing before was at par with the international standard already. So why change me? You should change you. But it's harder to change that and instead just focus on yourself first. Try out what they're suggesting, right? So yes, it takes very great maturity to be able to mature in this kind of setting. Thank you so much for that. Well, let's have now Sir Eric. Oh, or Miss
Eric's
Rachel.
not here.
Miss Rachel, sorry. Miss Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Rachel. I'm honored to be part of this conversation. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I'm actually from Bulacan in the Philippines. I wear multiple hats. I currently serve as a clinical nurse educator for the Regional Internationally Educated Nurse program for Vancouver Coastal Health. And then I'm also a care office owner for Right at Home Canada. It's a home healthcare organization serving the North Shore and the Sea to Sky communities here in BC. And then beyond that, I'm also an active member of the International Nursing Alliance and a chair for the Alzheimer's Society Walk. So that's all the hats I wear. One skill I gained as an internationally educated nurse is resilience. I think it's so underestimated the amount of resiliency that IENs have to showcase, specifically the ability to navigate uncertainty and the complex systems wherever we migrate to. When I first came to Canada, I resonate with Joy. I did the licensing process. I did the substantial equivalency, the competency exam. And the pathway for IENs at the time was very unclear. It was very discouraging. There was no clear path. And then at that time, I was also juggling like family work and studies. So resilience was often misunderstood as simply coping or just toughing it out. But today, it's the foundation of my leadership. It allows me to guide others through change, building programs that support IENs, and then leading a business that thrives in a dynamic healthcare environment. So, adaptability and resilience isn't just a survival skill. I say it's a leadership strength. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Ayan, maraming sangay ang nursing dito sa Canada at sa ibang parte ng North America. So kung hindi man kayo mag-hospital work, pwede mag-business, pwede mag-telephone. Ayan. Ah, pwede na nating tanungin si Sir Rodolfo kung iba ba sa Ontario or pareho pa rin. Sir Rodolfo?
Yes. So for based on my experience, and I think the one skill in my international background that was once misunderstood, but now I could consider as one of my greatest strength is the adaptive cultural intelligence. As a Filipino, someone that's coming from Asia, I was trained to communicate with humility, to read hierarchy carefully, and to adjust my tone in speaking depending on the seniority. Early on my arrival here in Canada, this was sometimes misread or interpreted as lack of assertiveness. But in leadership, especially now that I'm in the Sino Council, this skill is actually very essential. As the council president, it allowed me to bridge diverse perspective and opinions. It also facilitated respectful dialogue while creating that safe space and lead with empathy and cultural awareness. It made me realize that what once seen as a gap by many, but this time became a powerful asset that support inclusive and people governance centered approach.
Thank you for that. Actually, ako din, hindi pa ako masanay na tanggalin yung tita, tito, sir, ma'am. Mahirap siya. Lalo na kapag nagtataglish. But in English, probably I could get away with it. But in Filipino, it's so hard to mix the two. But then let's move on to the next question. Before and beyond the official language exams, cultural differences in communication can really be a major hurdle. So, for instance, navigating local slang, accents, or indirect communication styles with colleague and patients. And of course, sometimes the patients are not audible. Some patients have a tendency of not moving their lips while they talk. So, Lucy and Mary Grace, how do your associations actively help IENs bridge these subtle cultural and communication gaps in their clinical practice?
I'll start. One thing that I advise the new nurses, the internationally educated nurses, is one, I tell them not to use IEN as a term because they already have completed the certification, and I advise them to use I'm a registered nurse, I'm a licensed practical nurse. Once you are licensed, you're no longer forget about the IEN story, focus on the licensure. Reason I'm advising them that is if you tell them you're an RN or you're an LPN, then immediately they'll say that's qualified. I'll share you a story in my early days. I was the first IEN in Alberta to become a manager. So I was very visible. In one of the executive meetings that I attended, another manager asked me, who was checking the attendance, whether I was housekeeping or kitchen. Uh, and I told them neither. And he was really very insistent. Obviously, he was not doing the assignment that there's a visible minority manager that's coming to the conference. So lo and behold, when it was time for me to make my introductions, this manager stood up and told the crowd how wrong it was to stereotype people because they look different and sound different. But you know what happened? That statement that he did, it actually created success story for me because I was challenged and I converted those challenges into successes. Every time I speak, I use that as an intro. I'm Lucy Reyes. I look different, sound different, but you have to listen to what I have to tell you because you're not going to hear it anywhere. I'm the only one. So that spread throughout the province. I became popular to the point that during that time, the board members of our regulatory body are actually being elected I was elected for 2 terms as a board of director of the college. By the 20, then there were 22,000 members in Alberta. So it was success. So I advise people use the challenges and create successes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And now may we have the side of Mary Grace?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hello. Here in Quebec, languages is the barriers for all the nurses international because of the French. With all our with our bill new policy that French first before English. And that's my third languages that I've adopt and learn with all the courage. And so communicating with the French people, most of my patients are 95% are French. So you have to assess carefully and understand how they communicate because some of them are slang. They speak French. Some of them, like if you understand you educate yourself in French, they will say to you Lola, and then you will ask to repeat it. It's important because if you didn't assess properly, how will you intervene? So for me, studying, adjusting my communication, learning French is a big it's a big challenges, but I adapted it because why? What makes me success to speak French trilingual because um I think for my future children that how will I teach them to their assignments, and at the same time I love my nursing, and how will I assess my patient if I'm not very good in communication. It's like I'll give you example. When a French person told you Jamala Core, what will you think? You think core is hard? No. Jamala core is like you're nausea, you're vomiting. And if you don't understand, you will do EKG. No, you need a bowl. They will vomit to your face. So, um, and eye contact, it's important, the nonverbal communication. Sometimes chronic pain, because I work in the Montreal Neurological Hospital for 19 years. Brain tumor, chronic pain in their back. It's very important how you observe nonverbal communication. With their pain, grimace, you have to um, learn that. You have to learn, but not just verbal and nonverbal communication. Yeah.
Verbal and nonverbal. That's so tricky, especially when they're in pain. Sometimes it's garbled already what they're saying. Is
You
there like
observe the
a
eyes. You observe
oh
the
yeah.
eyes, your face, like for stroke patient, you will see the difference. That's one of my my strong I observe very good. I observe very
But
good.
is there like a specific training ground for nurses, like French for nurses in Quebec right now? Or
Um,
you just have to go through the basics until you get to the point where you could be conversant while at work?
so basically, you have because here in Quebec, you must pass your OIQ, your Ordre des
Mhm.
Infirmiers de Quebec, Order of Nurses. And then after that, you have a pending license because if you don't pass your French exam, as I mentioned to one panelist, you cannot practice your RN here. So while you are doing, you're practicing I always recommend practice your nursing in a hospital, communicate. It helps your confidence to speak in French because in exam in French, there are four types your how you communicate, expression écrit, expression oral, comprehension écrit, how you understand to communicate and in written. It's a conversation that you have to hear what they say and then you will write. There's a question, what you understand, like what we're doing right now. Did I
Mhm.
understand in French? Did I understand what you're asking me? So the same thing with the patient. If you don't understand, how will you intervene with your patient? So it's so prior to your question, is there anything so we, the International Filipino Nurse Association of Quebec, we help the international nurses, one, to pass their OIQ first, and then we try to help them to be confident in their French language. We do teaching free of charge, and yeah,
Wow, that's
we,
amazing.
we
That's
volunteer.
a great plus for those who are tuned in right now. Guys, come on, avail of that.
Yeah.
Because that's one that's parang nakaahoro ka sa gastos kung mag-enroll ka doon. And a follow-up question for Miss Rachel. From a business management perspective, what is the most important cultural competency that you need to ensure seamless integration?
Thank you. Cultural differences in communication is a continuous learning process. Like I've been here for many years and I feel like I'm still learning day by day. But from a business management perspective, I think the most important cultural competency I hire for is cultural humility. So, kind of echoing what Miss Lucy Reyes had said earlier, cultural humility is that continuous exploration of one's own and others' cultural identities and beliefs, being aware of personal biases, and then treating each other with respect, openness, and empathy. So, in home health care, caregivers and nurses enter a very diverse household, so each with unique traditions, communication styles, varying expectations. Um, However, technical skills matter, but what truly ensures seamless integration is the ability to listen without judgment, respect the cultural norms, and adjust care accordingly with closed loop communication. So just making sure they communicate that well in a way that they know how. So when I'm hiring, I look at those who have insight and who practice self-reflection, those who have willingness to learn and adapt, ultimately enhances their communication styles. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Uh, Now let's move on to the dark and bright sides of expat life. Well, living abroad and working is a high risk, high reward choice. And may I ask each of you to share one example of the dark side, the most unexpected or significant personal sacrifice that you made, like isolation or financial strain? And in one sentence, dumako naman tayo sa brighter side, the ultimate personal or professional reward that made it all worth it. Parang nanigate lahat ng kahirapan or lahat ng pagsubok na pinagdaanan nyo in the past. So let's start with Lorna for the Hong Kong perspective. And later on, marininig din natin pati yung iba, yung, para marinig natin yung unique demands of military service.
Yeah, thank you very much. And well, good morning from Hong Kong. I can say na the dark side of being was this in Hong Kong, being a nurse, but not nurse in a hospital or the hospital or bedside care as we call as nurses. It's the very expectation of that's the very hard for me to accept myself and also a family that I have because being the expectation of being a nurse, being the very first um university graduate and degree holder in a community, a far-flung community back in the Philippines, they expect you already to become rich, uh, having a nursing degree. But landed job here in Hong Kong, um, like gumuho lahat. It's those dreams already of my family and me. It's I don't know how how to accept or how to put it in one word, but it's really devastating and degrading also. But then I try to put it in a side na like because my character is if it's already there, then do do it whatever you can. Like in other perspective apart from a very dark side. Um I've been in isolation of myself. Like I don't admit that I am a registered nurse back in my country. I hide it. But when this opportunity of abroad, like they're hiring abroad, like Maryland, that's the time that I came up and discovered that hundreds of nurses are here in Hong Kong working as a domestic workers. And so having that, I found my passion. The bright side of it is um I've learned that a nurse is always a nurse, but a nurse is not confined in a four corners of a hospital room or only a hospital bed with a stethoscope on your neck. Because I try to uplift the nurses here in Hong Kong. Like my way is like a leader already because I managed to bring the PRC, BON, Board of Nursing, here in Hong Kong and have their nursing licensure examination here in Hong Kong. But the thing is, it's very difficult because of the process back in the Philippines, those paperworks, and I'm only managed to do that, the approval twice. But the second time around did not materialize because of the pandemic already. So it was approved. My request of having the NLE here in Hong Kong was approved, but not materialized due to the lockdown already here in Hong Kong before. But I'm still having it. And the thing is, Hong Kong is pledging, they are already having a government to government talk of hiring nurses from the Philippines here in Hong Kong. But then it wasn't finalized yet because of some of the why I question how will you hire when they are registered back in the Philippines and not registered here in Hong Kong? Will you hire them overseas? Like so the accommodation is with already with the government, you will shoulder with the government, or will they also work like a local? And how about their nursing jurisprudence? How what if they will have a negligence within the bedside setting? How will you address that? Will you also try them in a court of like apart like medical professionals or just like a normal citizens already? Those that I question with that I raise questions and that they are trying maybe to make also mutual agreement between Hong Kong and a Philippine government. Hopefully because they not only promise to, but they need it because here in Hong Kong it's was this overload, nurses are overload, though their salary are high, but it compensate their um job loads. It's really very what is it's l- it's more than back in the Philippines working here in Hong Kong. Hopefully they will also try to hire caregivers because of the elderly populations are getting higher here in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Lorna. Sometimes, nandun tayo sa mindset na maliit ka lang. Pero nakalimutan mo na ito yung napag-aralan ko. Ito yung pinangarap ko dati. Sa masyadong abala dun sa maliliit na bagay na para maging ganun kaliit. 'Di ba? We all, well, a lot of Filipinos struggle with that too in Canada. Like sasabihin nila, hindi na lang, hindi na ako magna-nursing. Kasi parang ang out of reach naman siya. Parang, ang tagal ko na kasing pinangarap, hindi ko pa rin siya nakukuha. Baka hindi na talaga siya for me. So maraming ganun ang iniisip. Baka kailangan ko na lang tanggapin na hanggang dito na lang yung kaya ko. Kasi kawawa rin yung pamilya ko kung mag-aaral ako ulit, tapos gagastos na naman sila, tapos wala rin. So parang may ganong mindset. Ang hirap i-balance yung maging dreamer ka and achieve for the stars and at the same time be a realist. Ah,
Can I comment on
sige po.
mabilis lang. The thing is, I just noticed back here in Hong Kong that we Filipinos are not that very very good in investing on our education. Dito umaasa sila lahat for free seminars, workshops, checkups. They said that when I encouraged them to take the exam or to take what's this something for their professional growth and they need to pay. And I said, oh, I can't because I have to send money for my family. I said, the budgeting financial issue here in Hong Kong is very difficult to like barge in or to like, sana pasukin mo na. You need to explain to prioritize. And so you can serve your family a longer and a better one, something like that.
That's true. You have to invest in yourself first so that you would have a bigger threshold to serve other people and also give back to your family. That's true. But ano siya parang kailangan mataas yung score mo sa EQ. Ano yun yung marshmallow test? Para maintindihan mo yun na kailangan ko talagang pagsikapan to bago ko muna magawa yun. 'Di ba? Parang ang salimuot kasi minsan ng reality parang ang hirap pangarapin yung
Tough love. Tough love.
brain science. At saka ang hirap din ipaliwanag minsan dun sa pamilya mo, kailangan ko ulit mag-aral. Ha?
Yes.
Nagbenta na kami ng ganito, ng ganyan. Hindi ka pa
Yes.
rin, nag-college ka na. Hindi
Mm.
nag-party na tayo, nagkatay na tayo ng baka. Hindi ka pa rin nakaka-practice dyan. Ayun ang mahirap, di ba? Okay, dumako naman po tayo kay Eric.
So I'm just gonna
Or-
speak on behalf of my brother. Unfortunately, there has been his wife gave birth unplanned, so he has
Oh,
to be at the hospital right now. So Eric would like to actually extend his regards to everyone. I just spoke to him. I called him in Boston just this morning, and he is really very excited to know what has transpired in this meeting. Anyways, my brother is a trained military nurse. He actually came from Saudi Arabia. That's where he first initially started his nursing career. He was working in a trauma unit, and there has been an opportunity for him to go over to the U.S. Via an agency, a reputable agency under the POEA in the Philippines, based as well there in Saudi. And he traveled actually to Iowa. And eventually, as he was there, he actually got this opportunity to be trained for military nurse, and he tried to apply blindly. And lo and behold, by God's grace, he managed to pass the training, and I'm so proud of him. I actually attended his ceremony last January of this year, and now the military is actually enrolling him for nurse practitioner. I'm very proud that an IEN. An international educated nurse such as my brother has actually made it to America and garnered his U.S. citizenship up to that after that with hard work. So it's not actually overnight. I'm one of his I'm not his detractors. I'm one of his I always bully him in terms of nursing because I'm the oldest of the family. The next to me is also a manager for University of San Diego in California, and she's also in the critical care area. And so both of us are really pounding him. Nursing is not an overnight thing, and I think he listened to us. So I'm very proud. Eric just wanted to share that to everyone that becoming a success story in the end of the day, you have to actually toil your socks off and burn your midnight candle in order for you to actually make it in the long run. It is a very tough road to take. Pwede nang pang maalaala mo kaya, I'm sure, ang mga story natin in different manner. Ako din, pwede na ako magsulat ng book ko. But I would like to actually inspire everyone out of our different stories that all of us are different circumstances in our lives. We have our family, we have our priorities. But at the end of the day, what would you like to give your family family 5 years from now. Alam mo yung I come to Canada na ang edad ko is 40, nag-aral ako ng advanced BSN program, hindi ko alam ang gagawin ko. But through that, I actually am so proud that I never stopped kasi pag sinabing ang fees are ganito, ang mahal, tataas pa rin yan. Hindi yan bababa. So what I'm trying to take away there is that when are you going to start? It's only a matter of like a stepping stone, like a one step ahead. Baby steps, and then by the time you know it, you'll be there. Just like the success story of my brother. He will never even know that he became a trooper and one of military nurse, and based right now, he's moved to Boston and he's now doing his nurse practitioner. That's what it is.
That's very inspiring, huh? Kahit na bullied by the ate. Nagpursige. Minsan yan nga yung nagde-develop nung tagang gagawin ko to. Kasi sabi ng ate ko, hindi ko kaya. Parang lalo siyang ginaganahan
Old school
mag-aral.
kasi kami, and he was really threatened na yung mga grades daw nandun tapos siya ganito, kolekot. So kailangan niya magpursige.
Nakakatuwa. Anyway, ngayon naman po, dumako tayo sa story ni Eleanor.
Okay, ako naman, I just said, ang pangmalala mo kaya din ang storya ko. I can actually relate to Lorna. When I first came to Canada, before ako umalis ng UK, parang ang grabe ang living do na talagang marami akong inaasam-asam na pagdating ng Canada, I'll be practicing as an RN. I used to work at Cambridge University for 14 years as a post-anesthetic care nurse. I have critical care background and mostly of my life in nursing, I'm a surgical RN. I love medicine, but I fell in love with treating pain as pain is my game kind of thing. And I ended up and there's a story behind that. Very quickly, when I was about to graduate high school, I don't want to become a nurse. My dad is my inspiration and also my detractor to say, hey, you have to take nursing. I wanted to be an architect to start with, but I ended up to become a nurse. And there's one patient in the emergency room who's in a lot of pain at some point, and nobody is actually attending to him because he doesn't have money. So, you know naman sa Pilipinas, kailangan mo ng down before ka titingnan ng doktor. And I promised myself, that was my turning point, that when I graduate, I will actually treat pain. Wala nang taong magkakaroon ng pain. I wanted to actually make it as my game. So I became a post-anesthetic nurse from that time on. And then I worked in the UK for 14 years, like I said, coming to Canada with full of hopes. And all like, Crystal, like I will have the best of nursing and whatever without me even passing pa sa mga exam. Pagdating dito, na open ang eyes ko sa totoong buhay ng Canada, na kailangan kong isara ang lahat ng Facebook ko, lahat ng aking Viber. Wala na akong mga kailangan pa munang kasi ang reputasyon na iniwan ko sa UK from 37.5 hours a week na full-time ka, pagdating dito wala kang trabaho. And I became a companion sa nursing home ng asawa ko, pinatatrabaho ng asawa ko, and I don't know what I'm doing. I was just sitting next to that elderly lady. I was trying to play puzzle with her, but can you imagine from a post-anesthetic care and you're sitting next to her and you don't have any idea of what you're gonna do. And sige lang ako ng sige, nag-aantay ako ng IELTS ko. And after that, nag-enroll ako ng 5 Sabado na I became a care aide. And then when I became a care aide, nagawa kami ng resume namin one day, and my teacher called me and she said, can you come and talk to me? And I said, akala ko, lagapak ako, hindi pala. Sabi niya, yung resume mo speaks a lot about yourself. Why don't you go and see this dean of the College of Nursing? That time, the outgoing College of Nursing is actually Kathy Fukuyama was actually in a lung center. She went to the Philippines herself and she said, okay. And she was the one who actually helped me transition. I was the only one who was actually sitting with the LPN program in Vancouver Community College as an internationally educated nurse. Hindi nila alam kung paano nila ako bigyan ng grade. Ang sabi ko, kailangan ko lang magpagtapos. Nakatapos ako and I worked sa VGH pero meron pa rin mga bullying. Kaya, ang story ko nga pwede kong mahaba ang tatalakayin, hindi natin maubos ang oras. But what I'm trying to say here is that resilience is very important as an international nurse. Ang gagawin lang, kunin mo ang hat mo. This is what my clinical instructor told me. Take off your hat. Take off your hat as a nurse. You're not a nurse right now. You're a student. You're a Canadian nursing student. Take off the hat. Kasi yun ang magiging balakid mo to succeed. Kasi pag nandyan pa yan, ang pinaka-difficult nating kasi kalaban is yung experience natin. Meron na tayo under our belt. So when you're gonna start from scratch in a Canadian lens of nursing, it's gonna be very challenging for international nurse. So yung dark side ko, and out of that, on the other side, on the flip side of it, I remain resilient, very driven by my goals of becoming a registered nurse here. And I also became a critical care nurse registered in British Columbia.
Wow, nakaka-inspire. Ay, ang hirap nun. Kasi ang dami mo na na-achieve, tapos bababa ka ulit. Tapos kailangan ko mag-aral para lang pakita sa inyo mga bully kayo na kaya ko to.
Walang social media, walang Viber, walang ano. Tas isang dakot na kasi ako yung first na kumuha ng NCLEX for British Columbia. The batch, I have 2 eggs na nandun sa library, isang malaking tubig na tsaka isang dakot na mani. Uubusin ko yan lahat while I'm reviewing kasi kailangan take 1 lang ang board exam.
Kailangan ng protein. Ayun, kailangan ng
At
protein.
saka perseverance talaga grabe. Ang luha grabe. Luha lahat. Yes.
Ayan. Thank you po, Miss Joy. Okay. Ngayon, pwede pong mag-share din kayo, Mary Grace, ng inyong experience naman sa Quebec.
Hi, my dark side. To start here, there's a 2 Filipino who's doing nursing. They're students, international too. So I'm new. I approached them. Can you help me how to be a nurse here in Quebec? They told me nursing here in Quebec is different from Philippines. You cannot make it. Automatically, they put me down. And then I said, what do you mean? Nursing is nursing. And then said, no, you cannot make it. So for me, that challenge put me a big courage that I'll show you to both of you, I can make it. And I did successfully pass my RN degree. And then I said to myself, when I pass my French exam and fulfilled RN here in Quebec, I'm gonna proactive help these international nurses to be nurse and practice their nursing degree here in Quebec. So what I did, I joined these Filipino nurses. For 6 years, I was the director of education, continuing education, meaning I helped them to process how to be a nurse here with all my heart, with all the time. I willing help them, and I'm really happy when I saw them successfully and practicing their degree. They're happy at the same time. That's the challenge that I had, and for me, that's a big success.
Malaking hurdle talaga yun, no? Na makapag-practice sa Quebec. Ito naman po, dumako tayo sa professional growth and promotion. Um, para kay Sir Rodolfo, what was the single biggest systemic barrier? Not credentialing, kasi na-mention na yun kanina, but perhaps related to labor standards or union access that an IEN in Ontario must overcome.
I think beyond the credentialing challenges, the biggest systemic barrier that internationally educated nurses faces here in Ontario, I believe, is the adapting to a highly regulated and unionized nursing environment. Many international educated nurses, for example, in the Philippines, we come from a healthcare system wherein our scope of practice is very broad. And when I but with fewer safeguards. So I remember when I was a student in Mindanao, in Cagayan de Oro City, um, students can do IV insertion. But when I did my school here in Ontario, because I went back again to school for my Bachelor of Science in Nursing, we're not allowed to do that. So here in Ontario and in Canada in general, the strong focus really is abiding on the specific scope of practice, following especially the documentation standards and And what are you going to do for escalation for deteriorating patients? And most especially the interprofessional collaboration. And I know that all of these are very overwhelming for a new international educated nurses who is here in Canada. But I believe it's not the just the change in policy that we are considering here, but it's about a change in mindset for the international educated nurses. Sometimes kasi we bring back that mentality, oh, I can do this, I can do that, but we have to really adapt what's the healthcare system, what's the culture here in Canada. And in order for us to navigate that successfully, it's very important to have that structured onboarding. You have to be culturally attuned with mentorship. It's very important to have that someone that will mentor you, that will guide you, and support also from leaders who understands the integrations of these international educated, because this is both technical and cultural.
Thank you for that. Dumako tayo sa medyo malapit sa Ontario, ang New York. Kwentuhan niyo po kami, La Arnie, what parallel barrier do you experience as nurses in New York?
So first, I want to say it's both comforting and ironically frustrating that, to learn from other nurses in Canada and in UK and in the US that we have all the same problems, right? So this has now become a global issue instead of just being specific to a certain place or demographic area. Not just this is in general and not just in New York. There's a variety of identified barriers pertaining to systemic labor and workplace integration. So when the Filipino nurses come here, most of them have imposed bonded contracts with financial penalties for early termination that limits their job mobility, leaving the nurses vulnerable to wage suppression and poor working conditions at a certain degree. This is so different because when the American nurses are hired, there are no contracts for them. They're just hired, right? But the Filipinos, they come here with a binding contract. So that's one of the barriers. There is also existence in some reportable. We've experienced that here in New York about unethical recruitment practices as well. The sad part when you ask that question, what is the dark side of coming here, is that sometimes the IENs are taken advantage by their own countrymen, right? So that's one of the dark sides. And it contributes to that barrier pertaining to systemic labor and workplace integration. It still exists. It's not a whole lot, but it still exists. And that's why organizations like Philippine Nurses Association of America and their chapters really advocate for a cessation of these unethical recruitment practices. There's also lack of cultural awareness on both employers and employees, right? Coming here, you just come, oh, I want to work in the United States. But people come here not knowing what the culture is or had not done their research about the state that they're going in, the culture of the hospital and all of that good stuff. And even the employers, sometimes they're not ready. They're not ready for Filipinos. They just want nurses. That's it. So there's that lack of cultural awareness that actually, contributes to the successful onboarding of these nurses here. And that leads to some of them not having proper onboarding processes, right? They don't know where to go, how to do checks, what support systems they have in those places. Those are not prepared for them when they come. And then, of course, there's staffing shortages and safe staffing ratios that are that they experience, and it is actually really difficult. We've had situations where we've had nurses from the Middle East come here in the United States, in New York, that have difficulty adjusting because they have more than the patient load than what they were used to in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East. So that is a big transition for them, especially for Filipinos who are highly accountable for caring for their patients. Also, when they're new coming here in the United States, not knowing anything, they are subjected sometimes to unfair scheduling. They get the night shift, they get the double shift, they get the weird shift. They end up being the charge nurse less than 6 months, right? And then of course, is the pay equitable? Um, we don't know how that works sometimes because they went through a recruitment agency. We don't know if they're getting fair pay. In most hospitals, not true for everybody. Like I said, each hospital or healthcare system is circumstantial. They do have some staffing models that are considered rigid, and the IENs also experience seniority-based scheduling in some hospitals, which becomes unfair, right? The existence of such seniority rules makes it harder for the new nurses, especially the IENs, to access preferred shifts or units, especially if they have, familial circumstances or they need to take some time off. And of course, the biggest thing is, here in the United States, there are still some areas that have limited professional development opportunities. That's sad to say. In New York, we do have a lot of opportunities for that. Most of the hospitals here have professional development reimbursement, tuition reimbursement, so the nurses can actually go for higher degrees. And most of their seminars and symposiums, especially the big ones, are actually paid for by their employers. But that is still not true across the United States. So those are just some of the barriers. If you combine all of this with cultural unfamiliarity, then this can lead to the IENs being clustered in less desirable roles, perpetuating inequity, which we do not want to happen. Earlier, you were discussing about some of the skills. This I will advise everybody, and I think it probably should come higher than resilience or emotional intelligence. Is really develop a high context communication skills, a command of language, and the ability to interact with others, despite the fact that you have an accent or you don't really know how to speak English very well, or your syntax and grammar is off, is highly respectable and commendable in other countries because they know you're trying to communicate with them. The cultural factor that we have with Filipinos is we're shy, right? We have a tendency not to articulate nahihiya tayo, or we think that, oh, I don't want them to comment on how my English is or I have a thick accent. But the mere fact is they don't really care about that. They just care about you interacting, about clearing your mind with them, about engaging them in communication. And us to have the humility to say, oh, is that how you really say it? Oh, I've learned something new, right? That is part of the humility. But I think a good command of language, like somebody said earlier, they need to learn French. You need to learn it good, so you can actually get to the bottom of assessing your patients very well, of communicating your concerns, and that really gains the respect of others. In fact, if you have a good command of their language, they don't even look at your cultural background anymore because they see that you're trying your very best to make sure that your patients are taken care of by communicating properly, by articulating your concerns. So if there's any advice that I should say is that for new nurses to really have that good command, don't be afraid to converse. Don't be afraid to communicate. If they correct you, just take it in and say, oh, you know what? I'll say it that time next time. Because to them, engaging them and making sure that you are communicating is actually an act of humility on their part.
That's refreshing to hear. Coming from the Philippines, I arrived with a lot of insecurities. I'm a communication graduate back home, and coming here when I served as front staff in a clinic, talagang kinuwento na yung buhay, sariling buhay. When I served as front desk, it was so hard because
Mhm.
you have to get rid of the cultural nuances na, ay, baka mali yung ano ko.
Yeah.
Tsaka maraming technical na medical terms.
Mhm.
Minsan, ay, Nasabi ko bang tama? Ay, yung ba, ganun ba i-pronounce yun dito? Check mo, check ka ng check. Nang nangyayari lang, parang nasustorbo mo lang yung mga katrabaho mo at naiinis sila sa'yo. So, natutunan ko yung Google pronounce. Doon na lang ako nagtatanong. Ah, okay, anyhow. Ang ending, wala na ako sa clinic. Nasa Omni News po ako ngayon. Ah, okay, so para po ito sa mga viewers natin, sa mga sumasali ngayon at nakikinig sa ating panayam with our experts sa nursing. Okay, and to cap off this segment, our last question is professional growth and promotion to move beyond the bedside. How do you cope in when you feel like you're stagnating? So in your experience, what is the single biggest non-clinical obstacle that prevented qualified IENs from moving to management, education, senior leadership roles? Yung bang pagkakimik nila, pagkamahiyain, yung nga, insecurities. What is one concrete action that your organization is currently taking to internationally recruit, mentor, and promote IENs to the next tier of leadership? Let's start off with Christina.
I think Ate Lucy wants to start. I'll give
Okay.
her. Go ahead, Ate Lucy. You're muted.
I'm actually targeting my response to the younger generation right now. The Alberta scenario right now, there are only 5 managers of Filipino ancestry throughout the province. And there are more than 300,000 Filipinos that have nursing background in Alberta. Where are the gaps? Part of our challenges is very few people are into taking continuing education. You have to prove you're twice competent as the Canadian graduate. So that's one of the challenges. Second challenge is there are some Filipino nurses at the bedside who have been offered positions, but they turn them down for fear that they might not succeed. They have to think positively. And three is I encourage my colleagues, particularly the younger generation, to be involved in in different committees, not only at the local level, provincial level, national and international, because that is an opportunity where you can feel comfortable talking to the public, just what I do now.
Thank you so much. Okay, now lipat tayo kay Miss Chris. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I think na-cover na lahat somehow in terms of yung mga non-clinical obstacles and now in terms of acquiring an opportunity to have a leadership role, I think the biggest is yung confidence and competence. Like that's the biggest barrier kung bakit hindi po tayo nagkakaroon ng opportunity na maging tawag dito, umakyat sa leadership role, right? But from my experience, I actually did, and I faced a lot of challenge in terms of dealing with racism. Okay, direct to the point, meron pa rin po tayong racism everywhere, right? So you have to deal with that, and that's why it's very important to acknowledge that, and at the same time, what are you gonna do about it, right? So again, first thing is like you have to know, understand, and then do something about it if you really want to, right? And that's how you're gonna drive yourself up to what position you're aiming for. Now, what is the concrete action of our organization, INA? The ultimate goal of INA is to empower nursing professionals, and very simple ways we are a not-for-profit organization, and this type of event is one of them. And in addition to that, just to let everybody knows what we've been doing is we actually gathered all the nurses, like lahat po ng mga directors ng INA are mostly IENs, not all, but mostly, right? So we have the same passion in helping IENs. So one of our goal is actually one of our project is the integration program, and that's what we've been doing. Like since June po, meron po tayong mga event na online event, which is really how do you call it? It's very advantageous kasi po kahit nasa malayong lugar po tayo, like in Hong Kong or in Manila, like me, I'm in France right now, we can still do it. We can still connect and be able to share and learn from one another. Like this specific event is actually an open eye, like a reality check of the good and the bad and the ugly of nursing life abroad, right? So yun lang po para sa akin. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And with that being said, sige, Miss Joy.
I would like to
Add.
add to what Chris just said about leadership in terms of nurses abroad, for that matter, moving up the ladder. I think one of the hurdles sometimes is also that mentality that most Filipino nurses, I'm not saying it's everybody, but it all depends really on what they really wanted at the end of the day. Some of the nurses are very satisfied of being at bedside because actually, ironically speaking, I know that sometimes there's some kind of like discrepancies in terms of scheduling. But in my experience, I think majority of Filipino nurses love night shift for obvious reasons. And they are the most favorite people for other cultures to actually look for when in terms of shift swap. And so with this in mind, the thought of like, okay, if I'm going to move up the ladder, if I'm going to do this training, I'm going to rip off some of that little something from my pay stub each at the end of the month. And I don't have any more night shifts. I don't have any more this. I have a lot of worries in terms of leadership and management and a lot of headaches. So this kind of type of mentality that I've observed with majority of what I've come across in the work field is actually, I think, and I believe, one of the hurdles of them moving up the ladder, not because they're not capable. They are capable. Everyone can be a leader for their own rights, but you just have to really like it and want it to become one, right? So I think I just wanted to support Christina on that one. I think that's part of the hurdle there. That what do they really want? Do they really want that for the reason of they wanted to actually expand their horizon in their clinical pathway, in their career pathway, or are they more happy because that chunk of money, that extra that they can get from bedside, is actually helping their table and giving their family the comfort that they needed. So at the end of the day, it's their choice. That's what it is.
Yung iba rin naman na bagong dating, gusto nila na night shift kasi parang nasa Pilipinas lang din sila daw. Tapos, hindi na sila kailangan mag-adjust dun sa
Yes.
mga kamag-anak na tumatawag, nagte-text. But makikita mo pag break mo.
Saka yung night differential is really big.
Okay. Ngayon, ito na yung pinakaabangan nyo, guys. Ito na yung pwede kayong magtanong sa ating mga bigating guests ng inyong mga katanungan, paano nyo ma-achieve ang inyong dream job dito sa Canada or North America or sa Europe. So, pwede kayo, yung mga shy type, pwede kayong mag-type ng inyong mga questions sa ating chat box. At yung gusto naman magsalita, mag-raise lang ng hand, tapos i-unmute kayo ni Tita Trini. Okay?
Can I start? I have a
Okay.
question, if you don't mind. A very short question po kay Mr. Rodolfo Lastimosa. Could you give us an insight kung paano po yung internal governance ng CNO in terms of decision making, in terms of policy changes? Just a general idea po.
Yes. So in order for you to be part of the council members, you have to run for an election. So depending on where you live, there's a specific district that you'll be running for that particular position. In my position right now, because I have to dual registration as a registered practical nurse as well as an RN. So I run for the election for the RPN for Central Toronto District where I live. And nag-campaign ako doon at saka I really targeted all the international educated nurses because I wanted to make sure that there is that representation and for to serve also to have that advocacy for them, because there's a lot of, especially prior pandemic, um, there's a lot of like challenges in terms of credential recognition. And would you believe that during my time when I applied for the RN license, it took me 11 years to become an RN here. So that's really how difficult it is. So that's why, as I mentioned before, I went back to school and I did two universities, one for my physiotherapy, because I'm also a physiotherapist before I became a nurse. So I did that at University of Toronto, and I did also another university for my nursing, which is at York University. So all these credentials, education, I made sure that I have enough um, like like advantages if in case I will apply in the future for bigger or higher position. Luckily, when I run for that election, I won the election. It was I was very happy because of the support that I received from especially international educated nurses. So inside the council, the function of the College of Nurses of Ontario, it has two functions. One is the operation side, and then the other one is the governance. So my role is in the governance. So we, inside the council, I facilitate. Also, we all know the College of Nurses Ontario is a nursing regulatory body for over 200 nurses in Ontario. So I facilitate that meeting. We present different policies coming from the senior staff on what makes, for example, documentation standards, medication standards. We approve all those policies that's been presented by the CNO staff. And then we make sure that this being practiced by the nurses across Ontario. Um, and I would like also to share that when I got this position, to be honest, I have also that, that culture that we're very shy, that you don't want to say something, you don't want to, you know, to to speak up, because we are culturally we are very mahiyain, di ba? But especially me, I'm from the south in the Philippines. I'm Bisaya, and I'm very particular with how I speak, with my pronunciation. I don't want somebody will critic my communication. So we have that at the back of our mind. But eventually, I said to myself, you know what? I should start it within myself to have that representation. Kasi sino pa bang magsa-start kung hindi ko to sisimulan? And would you believe na after I was part of that council members, there are four other Filipino international educated nurses who were part of that council members. So it's just that representation and that opportunity to show to them that we Filipinos, and in general the international educated nurses, we should be proud of our background. No, we should be proud. No, we should not take our accent as something that is, our disadvantage. But this is actually that this makes us unique as a person. And would you believe I'm the first Asian council president in in this College of Nurses of Ontario? Because when I saw all those pictures coming from the start, I was the only brown colored one. So I'm very proud to share it and to inspire other Filipinos to step up their name forward, to put their name forward, because I think a lot of Filipinos have that leadership quality. It's just that a little bit push and someone that serve as an inspiration and motivation for them, that there is already a representation for them.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you for
It's very
sharing.
inspiring. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Pat.
Sa mga may gusto rin daw magtanong kina Conjen at sa ating labor attaché, go ahead, tanong na guys. Nahihiya or hindi yata accessible yung, ayan, mula kay Sara Alcaraz na-feature din natin sa Omni News. I finished my BSN in the Philippines. What should be my first step in Canada? I don't want to practice nursing in person. So are there other healthcare jobs where I won't have to deal directly with patients? I'm immunocompromised at the moment.
Joy, do you want to answer, or Rachel?
I don't know. Rachel can also add to this. As far as clinical areas is concerned, I believe that there are some avenues of nursing in Canada that you can actually try and apply. We have the so-called nurses that takes out like a like prescriptions over the phone, that they just deal with clients over the phone. You can also go through clinics or like admission clinics that you don't have to deal directly with the patients. There are a lot of avenues in nursing that you can actually go to if you would like to, like as an immunocompromised individual, that you can actually still do your nursing calling. Some of my colleagues actually, because if you are actually hired in Canada and you have that kind of like specific to your situation when it comes to your health, they actually liaise with actually giving you some alternatives in terms of your of job to actually modify it. And I know at the Trini, I think, can also like say something about this because, for example, if you have a back pain or you injured yourself at work and you're unable to do the same thing that you're doing before, for example, you're a post-anesthetic nurse and you have to push and pull, beds to the units, and you can't do that. The union, the BC, the union as well, the college, and also your employer can actually liaise with WorkSafe BC and HR to actually look for a job that is actually tailored and more safe for you to practice. That doesn't mean that you have to leave nursing as altogether, but I think they're just to modify the type of work that you're about to do. So in this case, with her having been immunocompromised, I think there's always a job for her there. And Ate Trini can add to that.
Yes, I can add to that because when I came back to work, I had an accident, so I was put into an accommodation position. So this is one good thing about working in Canada. So meron tayong tinatawag na accommodation process. So they put me, I had a burn on my hand, so I was not able to work for 2 years. So I found a job and it was a much, much better job. I work in the critical care areas. And I found out during the process of looking for different jobs that can fit me in, there is the material management. There's still some patient contact, but it's so minimized. So material management is mostly dealing with a lot of products. So we have a clinical product advisor and clinical product coordinator. So we have a travel nurse, but that's also patient. But those are the things. And there's also the online nursing right now. We call it telehealth, right? So there's so many things talaga, and you can also do clinic nursing also because let's say my classmate married a doctor, so she became the officer in charge of the reception. So, but she still worked with the husband like an assistant. So those are the things. So there's a lot of things. Actually, that's one of the things that we were really thinking about. There's talking about other jobs for the nurses, that you can explore. So that's another subject that we might be going into. And there's lots, but those just a few. So as a nurse, even at home, right?
Pero ang
Nursing is
balakid po niya,
everywhere. So
ngayon
one of
daw nasa
the.
Edmonton siya. Meron ba daw available na training for that specific that job categories sa Edmonton?
In material management.
Oh.
Ate Lucy, can you help?
Usually lahat ng hospital there should be sorry. I better get the person Lucy from Alberta to answer that, right? I'm from British Columbia. So go ahead. Unmute, Lucy.
Sorry. For the person needing some questions about nursing in Alberta, I'm actually willing to connect with her by email, and then maybe we could actually do the discussion offline rather than doing it in the meeting. Feel free to give my name to anybody who have questions in Alberta. And our Philippine Canadian nurses, we have a web page, and the membership is only $20 a year. Reason why we recommend that they become members is we spend money doing this, and being a member, then we can also surveil, and it's also a recognition that they are part of a professional association, which actually advances the discipline of nursing.
Sinulat din ni Laarni Florencio sa chat na sa US meron silang telehealth, virtual nursing, case management for insurance companies that are virtual. And that may also be present here in Canada. You can try applying. Para po sa mga ganito naman, may required po ba na certificate na additional on top of her BSN diploma? Sige po.
Can I mention for Alberta to qualify basically what we're referring involved in IT or clinical informatics or nursing informatics or health informatics. For the Alberta, we have an electronic health record system, but to qualify to apply for those positions, and they are in great need right now because it's one system, they require that you have some clinical experience in Alberta, right? I don't think they will consider somebody without any Alberta or Canadian experience to be in those positions.
Sa US po, Miss Lolita Compas, can you tell us more about applying for this type of positions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not get. I have a question, which is,
No problem, no problem.
I'm sorry. Can I ask my question?
Sige po, go ahead.
Okay. First and foremost, I congratulate all of you for your leadership to do this. This is truly empowering the IEN, and this is a great start. I will also take it for granted that most of you have been in Canada all over the country, which is so huge, more than 5 years, right? Okay, my question is about the nurses who arrive there 5 years and below. From your experience, do you think that they are having the same issues that you experienced way back then in terms of regulation, transitioning to a new job? Are they having any onboarding process in a specific location of workplace? And also, do they have acculturation, processes that's provided to make this transition better? Because what we are seeing in the United States, in the last 5 years, and most of the arrival here are done by recruitment by agency. Is that similar in Canada? Thank you.
We'll ask Rodolfo or who else?
Basic, sa akin, to Lolita, I came to Canada in 1978. So that was a long, long time ago. Honestly, when I came to Canada, I didn't have any problem when in terms of the job. I was so lucky, I think, because when I came to Canada, my sister sponsored me. It was through her I came to Canada. I just wrote the English exam. I passed the English exam. I wrote the board exam. I passed it. And that was it. The only thing during that time I was thinking is that I didn't know because I was really new. Actually, I just worked less than a year in the Philippines, and my sister took me here in Canada. I was not really wanting to come to Canada, honestly. But anyway, that was the past. And the only thing that I kind of, yung bullying, isa sa mga things na there was no label at the time. So I was bullied, but I didn't know. I was working as a grad. I was waiting for my exam, result of the exam, and it was an LPN, and she's actually itim ha. I don't want to say itim siya. She was bullying me. I didn't know. I was supposed to be the nurse giving the medication, or she's the one telling me what to do. And then I tried to talk to my head nurse, and I think meron din siyang parang ano sa akin kasi I was hired by the director of nursing, and it was just like I got a great job, and I was still a grad, and parang may racism din yung head nurse ko at the time, and she's a Hapon. So those are the things na wala pang label ha at that time. And then I work in a nursing home na I have no idea yung looking after an older patient kasi I work in the critical sa Philippines. But ang dami-dami ko during my time. Isa sa mga naging advocacy ko talaga is just thinking na hindi ko malagay yung BSN ko sa name ko. And that was the start of my advocacy, trying to find a way yung credentials natin sa nursing. And right now, I'm so happy with, although it's very, very hard for a lot of young nurses now, yung sa mga pathway nila to nursing, working abroad. But medyo na-inspire ako sa inyong mga ginagawa ngayon kasi you are leading the path for us, the young mga people or mga younger people in terms of leadership, professionalism. Kasi nursing, we know na during the Nightingale time, na para tayong maid lang, di ba? The way, But now we also have a nurse practitioner na almost na they can practice on their own. So there's so many things na, so many changes. And I'm so proud na right now as a nurse, what you are all doing. Kasi nakita ko rin sa akin, simple lang sa akin eh. But I was lucky in a way na during my year talaga pala, I was the only nurse that passed the board exam in 1978. Out of the yung origin. So it was only sa Philippines, so coming at the time. It was actually on the registration sa Nurses magazine. So I realized, oh, really? Sabi ko. But anyway, those are my experiences during my earlier years. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Tita Trini. Okay, now, may i-add daw si Miss Joy.
I just would like to answer the question earlier about like the experiences of nurses of 5 years and below. Although I actually started the training and the process in 2016, I have quite a few colleagues who actually came to Canada via agency. If I'm not mistaken, I think year 2008. It was an Australian agency actually that they came here. Now, as far as I know, during that time, the government of Canada has actually given some budget to actually hire nurses from abroad through an agency. But the problem that really arose at that point is that they actually failed the exams and the registration process in Canada. That cost the government a lot of money to actually hire them from abroad to Canada. And so now what they've done is actually they have established this college through a third party application process, which is now Inspire. And we have been tackling this for our previous virtual info session. CRNBC, now BCCNM, has created that in British Columbia for that matter. And actually the nurses all around the world will actually have to create their own account through these third-party agencies and then start their process from there. So in my own opinion, there's no such thing as agency per se to actually apply to Canada. Unless otherwise you're working from America or Australia or the UK, because I used to work from the UK, but still I have to travel here to sit the exam. And also like, those immigration process, the visas that it will actually incur. But in terms of agencies, I don't think that there has been an agency since I came here that actually hiring people from directly as nurses from across the globe to Canada for that matter.
Okay. Thank you for that. May tanong si Conjen. As Conjen, I wish to know from the Canadian panelists, what is the one thing other than advocacy, the specific thing that the consulate can raise with the provincial government to assist in the credential recognition of Philippine-trained and licensed nurses?
Can I answer? Well, I'm in France right now, but since we have INA as a not-for-profit organization registered in Canada, and this is one of our major goal is to advocate the IENs, right? And we would like to welcome the consulate, or kind of like actually invite the consulate, the Philippine consulate, and the MWO to kind of collaborate with us in helping IENs. And for us, what we are hoping for is first is step by step, which is assessment. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is to find out and validate the situations, how bad it is, as we already can conclude that it's not even getting better. Like as the question relevant to the question, compared to 5 years ago, right? It's not even getting better, and I feel like it's more exhausting, it's more financially stressful. And so we're really hoping that we can this event will help us to kind of like connect and be able to collaborate with the Philippine government in terms of advocating our kababayan. And we don't have the time to kind of like talk about it in details, but I'm hoping that we will be able to do the next step together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ang dami nating parang bitin na bitin yung oras natin ngayong araw na to. But this is just a kickoff to inspire you guys to empower you and just to fuel your dreams, no? Just keep on dreaming na you will be able to get your dream job na inaasam-asam nyo na matutulungan nyo napakaraming tao. May suggestion, may follow-up meeting daw to formalize the group and continue the discussion. Yes, Ms. Trini Lopez will take note of your names or the names of the participants today. And if you have questions, you can address it to Aina. Just follow their Facebook page. Magkakaroon din ng susunod pa itong virtual forum natin. So, wag kayong magsawa sa kakasali lang, kaka-tune in sa mga activities ng AINA. Kahit mansan panig pa kayo ng daigdig ngayon, kung gusto nyong may tinanim ni Lord sa inyo na pwede ka sa Canada, pwede siya mangyari. Basta lang take concrete steps daily para ma-achieve ang inyong goal. Mag-invest sa inyong future. To end our event this afternoon.
Teka, I think si Conjen, was she raising her hand earlier? Si Conjen Emma?
Yes, Ms. Trini, thank you. And apologies, Pat. I just wanted to, because I wanted to mention that each province has their different ways of dealing with the credentials recognition, ano? And we only have 4 foreign service posts here that has jurisdiction over a lot of the provinces, basically all of the provinces. So as Ambassador JV has mentioned, medyo maliit ang bandwidth namin. Though of course the bigger ones know that we have 2 in Ontario. We have the embassy, of course, and then of course the consulate in Toronto. And then we have one for Alberta and Saskatchewan here in Calgary. And then of course another one in BC. But the reason why I ask that question is because we want to be very specific. We want to know yung pain points ba specific, so that we can properly diagnose it. We're not we're not nurses, but so we can properly diagnose it and ma-target yung mga actions that we need to take. Yes, advocacy is good, but if we keep on advocating lang ng advocating in general, no, oh, you need to recognize our credentials. It's not that easy because obviously yung credentials process has a lot of moving parts. You have the education part, you have the regulatory bodies, yung parang pinaka-unions nila, no? I think you call it the professional organizations, PMOs, professional management organizations. Basically yun yung mga unions nila, but no, the union is on the labor side. Ito is on the licensing, yung mga regulated professions. And it just so happens that nursing is a highly regulated profession, not just here in Canada, but abroad. And so therefore, if we keep on advocating this, there's also that possibility na reciprocity, reciprocal yan, magiging reciprocal yan, that nurses from abroad should also be allowed to work in the Philippines. Parang automatic credential recognition din yan as far as they are concerned. So that's why we wanted to know, so that we can tailor our response to what you really need. Because right now here in Alberta, and I think I mentioned it as well, we already have the bursary programs, but none of the Filipino nurses are taking it. We already have the bridgeway, the bridging programs, but none of them are taking it. In Saskatchewan, what used to be 14 months, ngayon naliitan na to 9 months, and ngayon naliitan pa rin to 6 months, and still no one is taking it. Kaya, we wanted to kasi mahirap itong parang naririnig-rinig lang namin, no? Which is why I truly appreciate this forum from Aina, kasi at least na liwanagan na we are able to identify some of these pain points. And if Aina can go further, as Miss Lucy has mentioned, to specifically make that Excel sheet, yung mga pain points specific, be very specific, so that we can properly address them to the government. To be fair, Alberta has been miles ahead relative to the other provinces, no? And now they are going to follow what Ontario has done. Tatanggalin na po nila yung Canadian experience. So ang tanong ko, kapag tinanggal na ba yung Canadian experience, will the Filipinos still take it? Or baka sasabihin na naman nila, ay hindi ako pwede kasi ayoko, for example, na mag-nurse sa just out of my mind, out of my mouth, Okotoks o kaya somewhere in the northern Alberta provinces. Yung pinipili nila na dapat sa Edmonton or sa Calgary lang kasi andito yung mga families nila. So those things, please continue doing this, continue gathering those pain points, and do submit them to us. All consulates, all the 3 consulates general and the embassy would be very happy to receive them, because you will be helping us in advocating for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Conjen Emma Sarne. And for our closing remarks, may we call on Labor Attaché for Vancouver, Maya Valderrama.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, at maraming salamat po sa paglilinaw na binigay ng ating Consul General Emma Sarne. Natutuwa po kaming makasama at maging bahagi dito sa Nursing Life Abroad, ang virtual forum, and I would like to congratulate, of course, the International Nursing Alliance, aptly abbreviated INA. Sometimes they call INA, but ako mas gusto ko yung INA, for spearheading this event. It is heartwarming to see the leaders from the different nursing organizations coming together to discuss the issues faced by nurses, both at entry point and during their employment overseas. Yun pong inyong mga boses, your voices are not lost to the Philippine government, as so affirmed by our Ambassador J.V. Gonzaga and Conjen Emma here. And they are in fact aligned with the overall goal of the Philippine government in advocating for streamlined or removing systemic barriers in credentials recognition process of healthcare professionals. Yun pong nabanggit kanina ni Conjen, the MOU on hiring of nurses in Alberta is one of the concrete actions by which we could step up the engagement with the Canadian province. Pwede po maging model ito, no? As this mechanism requires setting up a joint committee and drawing up a plan together to facilitate a more efficient system of hiring and credentials recognition that also supports fair, orderly, and ethical migration. But yes, there are things that we can do that will have results in the medium term. But listening to all of you today tells us that there are also short-term objectives that we can continue to do or intensify, no? At this point, one of which is to do proactive information sessions for both nurse job seekers and newcomers alike on the processes of registration, as what Ina has already started, and how to thrive in this profession. Yun hong nabanggit ng karamihan kanina, we also have to teach them, lalo na yung mga bagong dating, in accepting the fact that when working overseas, we have to continue learning. Based on the personal stories that you have all shared, everyone has to continue to learn new things, such as language, whether that's English or French. We have to upskill and upgrade our clinical, professional, and break the barriers, even go for managerial skills, as mentioned by Ate Lucy. And more importantly, how to have the grit, agility, yung katatagan to go through tough times and experiences, because it is by knowing how to manage and hurdle these vicarious experiences that will be their key to succeed. And so on the part of the Migrant Workers Office, together with our Philippine Consulate General, we would like to continue to partner with INA in the conduct of information sessions. Real talk po tayo, not TikTok. That will simplify understanding for our job-seeking nurses the processes required, managing expectations, and helping them identify the goals that they want to achieve and inspiring them. Kasi sabi nga nila, kung hindi mo daw po alam kung saan ka pupunta, sa iba ka talaga babagsak. So the goals have to be very clear for each one who goes abroad, and that is aligned with we share that kind of objective. We encourage you to continue this type of engagement across countries, across organizations, across expertise, and be assured that our commitment to listen to you and to work with you on this shared concern on various platforms will continue. Muli, maraming salamat po sa ina at sa inyong lahat na naririto ngayong hapon.
Maraming salamat, Liberata Shea Maya Valderrama. Ayan, guys. So, type na ng inyong mga concerns. Your input is valuable to Aina. And ikokolate po yan ni na Tita Trini and i-address po nila yan sa mga kinauukulan. So, huwag kayong mahihiya. Pwede kayong mag-email, pwede kayong mag-chat sa Facebook. Ay, i-note down nyo na yung mga attendees today. Yan ang inyong mga barkada. 'Di ba? Batchmates. Kasangga nyo para patuloy kayo, dream, believe, survive. Para makuha nyo ang inyong pangarap na nursing job. Muli ako po si Pat Fernandez. Nood po kayo ng Omni News pag may time. Mayroon din po kami sa YouTube at saka sa TikTok. Pero mas gusto ni Liber Attache, real talk, hindi TikTok. Okay.
Class photo. Class photo.
Okay,
Can we
press
do a class
photo.
Rudy?
Yes, I will take a picture.
We'll take a group
Okay.
picture. Are you ready? Oh, big smile. Take
Okay, I think we have to
open nyo
turn
yung
on our
camera,
cameras.
guys.
Yeah, turn on your cameras. I'm just
Show the beauties.
okay. Okay, wear your smile. Okay, that's it.
Okay, we'll keep in
Okay.
touch, guys. Huh? There's more to it, what we're going to plan, and hopefully you guys will connect. We'll connect with each other because I think we're going to be stronger together as an alliances. So
Yeah, from Hong Kong also, I was just inspired by all of you from Canada, and I just remember, paano yung mga nurses ko doon pala sa Canada, sa Vancouver, Ontario, and Toronto? Bakit nakalimutan ko? So, I'm longing again to have this kind of talk, and I will put them into the loop and inspire them on how to become really nurses. While in Hong Kong, our advocacy or our target or goal is RN goal to
yes,
be an RN back in the Philippines. And then they're in Canada already to be a nurse already in Canada. No need back in the Philippines already on how to be a nurse there because they're already there in Canada.
but
Okay.
maybe work in sa Hong Kong to get you registered, all of you there, right? Kung yung
Yeah.
mga to
Hong
Hong
Kong,
Kong.
we're just about to be our Hong Kong also is different. We have two types of exam here in Hong Kong. We have the written exam and the practical exam, of which I don't know how I took the exam, but I failed always on practical. So there's a difference on our the curriculum back in the Philippines also.
We
I
can
was
work on
able to
that,
make it
right?
in yeah, make
Okay.
it in written but not in practical.
I think the advantage of working in Hong Kong first before coming here, if you want to work in Vancouver, you'll be a bit more fluent in Cantonese and Mandarin, which is very helpful,
Yeah,
especially to Eastern Asian people who are really not feeling well. Normally yan,
yeah.
mag-shift sila dun sa
Well, just like
kanilang
also Filipinos,
default
yeah.
Mandarin.
Yeah. Bakit may sakit ka nga? Bakit ka pang magsasalita kung ano yung salita nila? You have to talk on your own
Yeah.
language.
I'll
Lalo daw
turn off the
sumasakit ang
recorder
ulo.
now, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Pat,
magandang training ground.
can you guys hear me?
Yes?
Okay, yeah. Sorry to cut off. I just want to say, bago ako mag-say bye, I just want to thank you everyone for joining us. I think it's all said. Coming from INA, we really appreciate your presence here. This is something very, very special, not just for me, I think for everyone. And now that we have, sabi nga ni Philippine Congen that this event is something, it brought us all, it kind of validates kung ano yung mga points na kailangan nating i-address, right? In both aspect, from the side of IENs and from the side of the system, and of course the support system, the support from our Philippine government. So now that we have the network, I'm hoping that our next chapter of this amazing gatherings is to join us, to have like an alliance that will transform the journeys of our IENs. As we all know, ang mga Filipino nurses are well known to be around the world, right? They are our modern heroes everywhere sa buong bansa, hindi lang Canada, hindi lang America, but I think it's everywhere.
Okay. So thank you, Pat. Thank you to our moderator. Thank you very much to everyone. And from New York, from different parts of Canada na nandito. I know ang challenge natin is the time zone too. Especially with Lorna, it was 5 o'clock earlier when she came in. And Lorna, we would like to, say a prayer for your, people
Yes,
in
please.
Hong
Yeah.
Kong. So what's happening in there? So we know that it's really hard for you for the last 3 days. You're busy with them too. So that's a great job you're doing there too in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Sleepless
I feel
nights again, and
so
I'll go
so
back to the
overwhelmed.
area again. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.